We live, y'all. We live. What's up, family? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If you're coming on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitch Live, Periscope, Twitter Live, any other audio or video platform, if you are with us live, I want you to hit that like button. I want you to hit that share button. And please tell Lolly Dolly everybody, Prophet Ramone and the squad, we are live on the Ramone Preston Show. I'm closing this today. Far away, right? I don't know why. Right? Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon on this amazing Tuesday. Welcome to the Ramone Preston Show. Y'all know we live. We're going to have a good discussion today. For those of you that are coming on, good afternoon to you. Facebook, try. YouTube, try. Twitch, Periscope, Twitter, try. I don't care if you're on Mars. Good afternoon to you. I want you to hit that like button. Please hit that share button. Please tag Lolly Dolly everybody and let them know we are live. The Ramone Preston Show is live. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My hope and expectation is that your day is going absolutely, positively amazing. All of my Facebook family, how you doing? All of my YouTube family, how you doing? All of my Twitch, Periscope, Twitter family, how you doing? It's a beautiful day in the Buckhead neighborhood. As you can see behind me, it is literally a beautiful day. The sun is shining. It's a little warm. It's supposed to be up to about 60 something today. So it's going to be a beautiful day throughout the rest of the day. And we want to give y'all some game. We want to help you take your finances and take oh my God. Let me see if I'm still on. Check me. See if I'm still on.
Yeah, it's just blank.
Ow. Think I just came back on?
You are.
Woo. Let's make sure you can hear me.
Let's see. Say something.
See if I'm still on. Yep. Am I still on?
Yes.
Oh my God. You know I'm cray-cray. I literally just pulled the plug out of the software. Like, what is you thinking about, Prophet? Like, what? How did I get here? It was, yeah, it's one of them moments. Like, I just had one of them, how did I get here moments? My bad. Wow. Literally. I mean, just totally just unplugged it. Yeah, because I'm sitting here looking at the power, and the power was going low on one of the computers. And I say, well, let me just switch power from one MacBook to the other MacBook, and pulled the wrong plug out. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ramone Preston Show. We are live in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. Thank you for liking, thank you for sharing, thank you for tagging Lolly Dolly, everybody, and letting them know, of course, Jesus is popping, but letting them know that Prophet Ramone Preston, the squad, is live on the Ramone Preston Show today. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be talking about the three phases, wow, of creating a holding company. 3 phases of creating a holding company. By the way, this is our 5th week. You know that this is our 5th week for the RP show?
Yes.
Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock p.m.?
Yeah.
So for the past 5 weeks now, we have been live every Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock p.m. And I have to honestly say, without capping, because I got my sidekick, my daughter, my PA, right here with me. She ain't gonna let me cap.
No.
I can honestly and sincerely and truthfully say we have had some amazing responses,
We have.
especially from those of you that have reached out to us, whether it's about our blueprint game plans, whether it's about our coaching program, whether it's about consulting or any other product and service that we provide. We've also had people to reach out to us about our Next Level Network. We have a network of churches, ministries, and entrepreneurs that we just recently launched, and we have a few people that have already made a connection. So shout out to all of our Next Level Network members, those of you who have made the commitment to connect to the Next Level Network as a covering, as a accountability incubator for you, for your business, for your ministry. So today, y'all, we're talking about the 3 phases of creating a holding company. The 3 phases of creating a holding company. I'm gonna get right into it because I have a lot that I wanna share with y'all today about these 3 phases of creating a holding company. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop those questions in the comments. If you have comments or you just wanna give some feedback, y'all know how these algorithms work on social media. So when someone like me is live, when you are watching me and you are engaging in the content that I'm sharing, it's important for you to hit those hearts, hit those like buttons, share it, host a watch party wherever you are, tag other people to come in, because every time you do that, what you're doing is you're allowing those algorithms in the technology of these platforms to basically say in their own little world that what Prophet Ramone is saying is actually important, and that's how we get pushed up in news feeds. That's how we get more attention so people can hear what it is that we're talking about, because this is a part of my assignment, at least at this point in my life. A part of my assignment for ministry is to operate as an apostle. I understand that. But a part of my assignment for business is to operate as a coach, a consultant, to really educate and train people and develop people and to empower people like you with regard to some of the most important aspects of financial literacy, entrepreneurship, business ownership, ministry, leadership, investments, and family legacy wealth building. That's where my heart is right now. I've done a lot of this privately behind the scenes when my pulpit ministry was in the front on the scene. And now that we've shifted and my ministry responsibilities as an apostle are more behind the scenes, and my responsibility and my assignment as an entrepreneur and a prophetic business owner are in front of the scenes now. So anyway, let's talk about these 3 phases of creating a holding company. There are 3 phases of creating a holding company. I'm gonna give you all 3 and then I'm gonna break each one down.
Okay.
The first phase is the setup phase. This is the first phase of creating a holding company. The first phase is the setup phase. The setup phase. The second phase is the structure phase. The structure phase. The second phase is the structure phase. the structure phase. And the third phase is the startup phase. The startup phase. The third phase is the startup phase. So the three phases of creating a holding company. Number one, the first phase is the setup phase. All right? Number two, the second phase is the structure phase. Number three, the third phase is the startup phase. It's very important for you to understand that all three of these phases play a very important and impactful role in how you operate any business or any ministry, but more specifically, how you operate a holding company. Those are the three phases of creating a holding company: the setup phase, the structure phase, and the startup phase. All right, so let me get into the details of each of these three so that you can understand how important and impactful each one is. So what is the setup phase? The setup phase is the phase of your holding company that, number one, you create what I call a company legacy and a company philosophy. So this is before you go to the Secretary of State. This is before you do a name reservation. This is before you find a location or a building or build a website. The setup phase is the phase that you focus on establishing or creating a company legacy and a company philosophy. This is so important. So many people miss this phase, first of all, because they don't understand it. And secondly, if they do have an understanding of it, they don't take the time to really create it and develop it so that it can be a reflection of what their legacy is and what their philosophy is. So when you think about the setup phase of creating a holding company, it has two forms, okay? It has two forms. Number one, you must form a company legacy. That's the first form of the setup phase. So this is before you do anything else. If you have an idea for a business, if you have an idea for a ministry, if you have an idea for a product or a service or some type of concept that you know you want to introduce to the market or introduce to the ministry or introduce to the community or introduce to a certain group of people, the first phase should be the setup phase, which means you're going to have to take a step back and create a company legacy and a company philosophy. Now, this applies to a ministry as well, because if you are called to do ministry, especially if you're called to do ministry and called to do business, or if at some point you want to have both, then you're going to have to establish your organizational enterprise through the lens of a holding company. Now, it doesn't mean that your ministry or your nonprofit is going to be under your for-profit legally. Your nonprofit is going to be separated from your for-profit, but nevertheless, you have to create it through the lens of a holding company so that you can operate it correctly, because it comes down to how you're operating your organizational enterprise, whether it's nonprofit, for-profit, or both. So the setup phase of creating a holding company has two forms. The first form is you must form a company legacy. So what is a company legacy? Let me give you a clear definition. A company legacy describes a lifelong, purposeful goal or lifelong purposeful goals that assist you in building generational wealth through your organization. So to simplify that, when you create or form a company legacy, you basically gonna sit down and say, what do I want my business or my ministry or both to ultimately accomplish in my life and throughout the life of this organization? What do I want this organization, this company, this business, this ministry, this enterprise, what do I want it to accomplish for the next 100 years or for the next 300 years? If my company existed for the next 300 years, what do I see my company or my ministry or my enterprise or organization accomplishing? Now you're getting into the formation of a legacy, because now you have to think beyond, man, I just need to make a couple dollars. Man, I just got this good idea and I just feel like God is leading me to start this thing and to serve this group of people. You got to think about legacy now, because this is going to shape everything else you do and everything else you create in this business or in this ministry. I've seen so many people skip this part, this phase of creating a business and or a ministry, and they find themselves confused, they find themselves burnt out, they find themselves lost because they never looked beyond even their lifetimes. So the setup phase of creating your holding company challenges you, or literally requires you, to form a company legacy. Your company legacy is going to be your lifelong purposeful goal that you create for your business and or your ministry to assist you in building generational wealth through your organization. Here is something I want you to think about. Your company legacy reflects three things. Your company legacy reflects your mission. So when you think about creating a company legacy, think about, what is your mission? What do you want to accomplish through your company? What you want to accomplish through your church? What you want to accomplish through your nonprofit? What exactly do you want to accomplish? And does it reflect something beyond just you and your 20 years of doing it, or your 5 years of doing it, or your children doing it? So you want to make sure that your company legacy reflects, number one, your mission. Here's another component that's very important. Your company legacy needs to reflect your math. Why does it need to reflect my math? Because you got to know the numbers behind your mission. You can't just say, oh, I just want to save the world. I just want to help people. Well, who you want to help? How many people you want to help? What is it going to take to help them? This is something that a lot of ministries and nonprofits and churches don't even think about. Well, I just want to serve young people. I just want to serve people who old. I want to serve people who ain't got nobody. Well, who you want to serve, how many people do you want to serve, and how much is it going to take in order to serve that number of people? So if I want to serve young people, guess what? My mission needs to reflect young people. Even though at some point I may serve older people. Even at some point even if at some point I want to serve other people, I still have to have a mission that is relative to what I know is going to be a part of my legacy. All right? So your company legacy reflects your mission, your math, and your methods. Now, if you're following me clearly on this, you can see why the setup phase of your business or your ministry is so important. Because the setup phase is going to challenge you and require you to take a step back and say, wow, what do I want Ramone Preston Enterprises to accomplish? What are the goals of Ramone Preston University? What are the goals of Next Level Ministries? What are the goals of Ramone Preston Ministries? What are the goals of the Next Level Network? And once I start writing my goals down, now I got to see, what do I want Ramone Preston Enterprises to look like 100 years from now if Ramone ain't even here? Now I got to look into this goal or this purposeful idea that I have. I need it to reflect my mission. I need it to reflect my math, and I need it to reflect my methods. See, a lot of times when you're putting a company legacy together for your business, now you're thinking about the bigger picture. This is one of the reasons why I always recommend, there's never a time that I don't recommend your first business being a holding company. This is why we get so many people to respond about the holding company. I mean, almost everybody that reaches out to us, especially from social media, they reaching out to us about, I want to learn more about that holding company. I heard about a holding company, but I didn't know how it looked and how you put it together. But I not only do I teach it, but this is what I encourage, this is what I consult and coach people on doing on a regular basis, because when you put a holding company together, it challenges you to expand your think, to open up your heart to lifelong goals, to a legacy that you want to establish, not just for you and what you feel like you doing for the next 5 years, but what would your child do? What would your grandchild do? So my company legacy is reflecting not just me and my children, but it's reflecting my grandkids. It's reflecting other people that might come into the ecosystem of my business. So your company legacy will reflect your mission. You got to think about what your mission is. Whatever your products and services are, can you build a business around it? And if you had to build a business around what you're doing right now, whether it's a side hustle or whether it's your main hustle, if you had to build a business around it, or whether it's a service you provide in ministry, if you had to build an organization around that, you still need to think about what type of company legacy would you establish? What would that paragraph be that you wrote down to say, this is what Ramone Preston Enterprises is about? This is what Next Level Ministries is about. This is a mission statement, but it also needs to reflect your math. How many people do you actually want to serve? How many people do you actually want to reach? How many people do you actually want to touch? How many products do you want to sell? If you're not doing the math with your mission, you're probably waking up every day saying, man, I hope I sell something. I hope I make some money today. But when you have a goal, when you have some type of number that you've set, now you know, oh, okay, in order for me to get my goal, there's a certain amount of work I got to do because I got to reach them 5. I got to reach them 10. I got to sell those 20. I got to make sure I exchange these 15. Now, all of a sudden, your mission is complemented by your math. And guess what? Your math is going to create your methods. So the first phase of creating a holding company is the setup phase. The setup phase requires 2 things. Number 1, for you to form a company legacy, right? And number 2, for you to form a company philosophy. So not only do you have a legacy, but now you have a philosophy. Now you got to think about, what is my philosophy? What is a philosophy? A company philosophy describes a set of values, a set of views, a set of beliefs and behaviors which are all centered around your top line revenue. In other words, when you have a company philosophy, you already know what your legacy is, you know what your beliefs are, you know what your views and values are, and you've centered them around your top line revenue. In other words, now you ain't trying to feel bad because you out there getting money. You ain't feeling bad because you out there reaching people. You ain't feeling bad because you out there pushing your products and services. You know why? Because you have a philosophy, values, views, beliefs, and behaviors that are fueled by your legacy. Okay? So I want you to write that down in the comments, or I want you to write it down if you're taking notes. My philosophy is fueled by my legacy. See, when you have a legacy, when you know what your lifelong goals are for your business or for your ministry, it's going to fuel your philosophy. That's why I don't apologize for how much I talk about finances and entrepreneurship and business. And I'm a prophet. I'm a man of God. I've been in full-time ministry for 21 years now. I've pastored the church, I've evangelized, I've taught, preached, prayed, prophesied, laid hands, cast out devils. But guess what? I do a business deal in a New York minute and won't be ashamed. So just to show I speak in tongues, I'll sign a contract. Just as quick as I'll talk about John 3:16, I'll talk about financial literacy, because I have a legacy that is fueling my philosophy. You got a question?
What's the benefit of putting a whole life insurance policy into a whole holding company?
What is the benefit of putting a whole life insurance policy
Into a holding company.
I don't know what the benefit is.
Okay.
I wouldn't know. I don't know what the benefit is. Number one, I mean, I understand what a whole life insurance policy is, but putting it in a holding company, other than protecting future tax liabilities, if in fact there's some type of tax liability on that policy, if you make money from it, that would be the only thing that I could think of. But it's really no benefit, because your whole life insurance policy is not really going to be the key to get you wealth. Your whole life insurance policy is not going to be the key to create residual income for you. There are other investment vehicles that you can use to make more money. If you look at the overall return that most people suggest and project from whole life insurance policies, it doesn't even amount up to a lot of growth stocks or certain investments in real estate. So, I mean, to each its own. I don't have a whole life insurance policy. I probably never will, but I understand the purpose behind it. I understand the industry enough to know that it has its place and it has its value, but I don't really know what, like, just the overwhelming value would be to place a whole life insurance policy in a holding company. Anytime you're placing anything in a holding company, just fundamentally speaking, anytime you're placing anything in a holding company, which means you're saying this whole life insurance policy is going to be owned by this insurance company. This whole life insurance policy is going to be owned by this holding company. Well, that means the holding company is going to be the beneficiary, unless you make yourself a beneficiary as well, but it's still going to be protected by it. But I don't know if there's any liability with that, unless there's some future tax liability. So I'm not really sure on the insurance thing, but what I do know is if you're using a whole life insurance policy to try to leverage or hedge your bet on creating wealth, it's going to be a slower process than it would be if you took that money and aggressively invested it in vehicles that could net you a greater profit and provide probably more liquidity with your investment, your initial capital investment. And if you have a holding company that you're pushing your money through to invest, now you're able to create subsidiary companies that could minimize your tax liability the same way a whole life insurance policy would, if that's what you're using it for. So I'm not really sure. I'm just giving you a few scenarios and angles that I might know of. So the first phase of creating a holding company is the setup phase. In order to execute the setup phase, you have to form a company legacy and you have to form a company philosophy, because your philosophy, that means your beliefs, your behaviors, your views, and your values that push you to do what you do in business or in ministry are going to be fueled by your legacy. I hope you caught that. So that means your legacy fuels your philosophy. Your philosophy is fueled by your legacy. I hope I answered that enough or gave you a little bit of game on what your question was. Okay, so the second phase of creating a holding company is what? Anybody remember? The structure phase. This is the second phase. Now remember, if you go through these three phases in creating a business or creating a ministry, I guarantee you it's going to help you build it out more successfully. A lot of people just get a good idea and they say, oh, I just need to start an LLC. I need to go get an EIN. You have no legacy. You have no lifelong goals. You have no philosophy. You have no values and views, which means you really haven't put a mission together. You don't have the math together, and you don't have any methods. So now you just out there like, what do they say? How you throw spaghetti on the wall and hope it sticks? It just doesn't work that way. That's not the way business is. That's not the way ministry is. That's not the way organizations run. That's not the way enterprises and companies continue to succeed. It has to be very practical, but it has to be very strategic, which means you got to go through certain phases or through certain processes. So the second phase of creating a holding company is the structure phase. So what is the structure phase? Well, this is the phase that if we looked at a company, let's say as a body, then the setup phase would be like the marrow, the blood, and like the bones. You know, it would be like the skeleton. I would make the legacy and the philosophy of the setup phase, like the marrow, the bone marrow, and the skeleton. And then you're able to put the meat and all of the different organs and stuff on the skeleton at the structure phase, because now you're starting to construct a body around these bones, if what I'm saying makes sense. So what do you do in the structure phase? There are three things that you have to do in the structure phase. Number one, the structure phase is where you create the right name. The structure phase is where you create the right name, which, by the way, everything that I'm talking about is in our Blueprint Game Plan. I have an entire Entrepreneur's Guide to Business course in our Blueprint Game Plan. I have an entire holding company startup kit in our Blueprint Game Plan. So everything that I'm talking about, along with hundreds of other courses, is built into this Blueprint Game Plan that we have available on our university training platform. So just in case you're hearing some stuff and I'm kind of pushing fast because I'm on a show, and you want to get more of this, all you have to do is reach out to us, and I'll give you the information at the end of the show so we can plug you into our Blueprint Game Plan program, and you can have access to all this training in depth to know exactly what you need to do to create a holding company. So we're at the structure phase. This is phase 2 of creating a holding company. So at the structure phase, what do you need to do? 3 things you need to do. Number 1, you must choose the right name. That's important. That's a part of structuring your business, choosing the right name. Now, a lot of people may think, yeah, but that ain't important. It's extremely important. It's extremely important, because your name, whatever you name your ministry or whatever you name your business or your company, it says a lot about your legacy and your philosophy. I'm going to explain that in a minute. So, you got a question?
Yeah, he was like, do I have to create the holding company in my state? And if not, would I get taxed double?
For?
I guess do I have to create the holding company in my state? And if not, so I guess he want to know, do he have to do it in his state? And if not, would I get taxed double for a holding company in his state?
I'm not really clear on the question. Maybe you can expound a little more on the question. I'm getting some questions from YouTube right now. But basically, if you are creating a holding company, whatever state you're doing business in, the primary operation of your business is in most cases, you're going to file with the Secretary of State of your state. That's where you're going to file your corporation paperwork. All right. Now, there are exceptions where people are looking for what they call anonymity, which means they don't want nobody to know they own their business. And in those cases, they will start a company, let's say in Wyoming or Nevada. Some companies will start them in Delaware for anonymity purposes and for certain protection purposes when it comes to liability issues and other legalities. But 90% of people who start businesses will start it in their home company, their home state. So it's really not going to be a tax issue on that level other than you just starting your company. So the taxes are going to be based on the income, the expenses, and the net profit of your business, and how you structure your holding company to defer some of those taxes, minimize some of those taxes. So that's a whole nother system or game within the operation of your business when it comes to taxes. But you're not going to just be taxed for no reason just because you start a business in your home state or in another state. But if you're doing business in a state, you still need to be registered in that state. There are certain state guidelines, there are certain county guidelines and city guidelines that you have to follow. But most people who are doing business in a certain state, like I'm in Georgia, so I have a Georgia corporation. I have a Georgia entity. If I do business in Florida and I create a business presence in Florida, then I'm going to open up a corporation or start a corporation in Florida if I'm going to have a business presence there. And it may be my company in Georgia owning that company in Florida. So it would be like a foreign entity owning a state entity, but I still want to be registered in that state if I'm going to have a business presence in there. So the tax liability with that is just going to be based on how you structure your business, how you operating your financial systems and accounting, and how you either defer it through certain investments or minimize it through certain tax strategies. So we're at the structure phase. The structure phase of creating a holding company has three layers. Number one, you must choose the right name, right? Number two, you must choose the right entity. And number three, you must choose the right location. So I'll break this down real quick for you. How do I choose the right name? Well, when it comes to choosing the name of your business and even of your ministry, but more specifically of your holding company, because your holding company is going to be your legacy company, a lot of times it's not good for you to use the name of your operating business as your holding company. So for example, let's say if you paint for a living, let's say if you sell apparel for a living, let's say if you cut grass and do hair for a living, you got 5 or 6 things that you do for a living. Are you going to go start 5 or 6 businesses for all those 5 or 6 things? Or are you going to start a holding company, which may be a reflection of you or your family legacy? Like for me, I am the brand ambassador of my company and of my organization. So our holding company is called Ramone Preston Enterprises. Even though my wife is a 50-50 partner of my holding company, but I'm using my name because I am the brand ambassador. So she still owns half of my company, but she didn't want to use her name. We both agreed that, okay, it's a holding company, but you're the brand ambassador. So it's no different than JP Morgan, Stanley. There are a lot of holding companies that reflect the name of the individual who may be the leader, the founder, the CEO, or just the brand ambassador, whether it's Walton Enterprises, whether it's Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett doesn't use his name. He uses the name Berkshire Hathaway of a company he bought years ago. So you have to decide what the name is, but the name should best fit your legacy and your purpose, not just your philosophy and your practice. So that means if I start my first company and it's Ramone Preston Landscape or Ramone Preston Nails, well, what happens when I want to do 5 or 6 other things? Now I feel like, wow, I got to start 5 or 6 other businesses that reflect a specific practice or a specific philosophy or a specific operation. But if I have Ramone Preston Enterprises or whatever your name is, holding company or international or whatever it is, now it's general, it's vague, but it gives you the wiggle room to be able to build out other divisions and other subsidiaries under your holding company that may be industry specific. Yeah. So ABC Enterprises may have a painting division. ABC Enterprises may have an apparel division that has their own names. ABC Enterprises may have a landscaping division or a barber's division, or subsidiary. But at least those names under the holding company can be industry specific, but your legacy company is not industry specific, which makes it more of a holding company and emphasizes the significance of the holding company. So you must choose the right name. Your name should best fit your legacy. It should best fit your purpose, not just your philosophy and your practice. Like a lot of churches do that. A lot of churches, they will name their churches behind their philosophy or behind their practice. So I'm going to be apostolic, prophetic, evangelical, teaching, deliverance, outreach, ministry, when you got 17 names, because those 17 names may reflect your philosophy or your practice, where you should just generalize it with 3 or 4 words, and now you can have other ministries and other departments and other auxiliaries under that umbrella that can reflect certain philosophies, certain practices. That would be a better fit. Did we have another question? Okay. So you must choose the right name. Number 2, you must choose the right entity. That's another one. You must choose the right entity. I recommend that you start a holding company, because most people who don't start a holding company, you got another question?
Yeah, how can I get funding for a new holding company?
How can you get funding for a new holding company? Well, I don't know why you would need. I don't know why you would need funding for a new holding company. To start a holding company is no different than you starting a LLC or registering your information for your business through the Secretary of State. So if there's anything that you're going to need funding for, it would be for you to be educated on how to run your holding company, how to operate your holding company. That's why we have programs like our business and financial blueprint game plans to teach you not just how to start your holding company, but to run it and to make sure that you're managing and maintaining integrity in the day-to-day operations. So you're going to have to invest more in your education, because anybody can start a holding company for $100 and something. So if you don't have $100 and something, if you need funding for $100 and something, a holding company is not your problem. Owning a business is not your problem. You need to be educated about financial literacy. You need to be educated about money. You need to be educated about entrepreneurship and business. You got way more problems than a holding company problem if you need funding to start a business that you can get started for $100 and something on any Secretary of State website. So we have choosing the right name. That's under the structure phase, right? We have choosing the right entity. I'm going to recommend that you start a holding company. So even if you have a holding company and you have some other operation that you know is volatile, it is high risk, then you're going to start the holding company, and instead of operating a division, you're going to just start another subsidiary under your holding company. So that means holding company number 1 is owned by you or you and your spouse or whoever it is. Company number 2, which is going to be the operating company for something you out there doing in business in real time that might be risky and has liability to it. Company number 2 is going to be owned by holding company number 1. Holding company number 1 is owned by you. Company number 2 is owned by your holding company. So that's how you're going to structure that when you get started with the holding company concept. The third part of the structure phase is choosing the right location. Now, choosing the right location is important because we're in the digitization of society now. That means everything is going digital. So if you are still stuck in a brick and mortar world, if you are still stuck in a stick and stone world, which means that you feel like you can't do business unless you got a shop, unless you got a physical space, unless you got physical products and services, it may start there with products and services, but you need to learn how to transform those products and services into digital concepts as well. And as far as physical space in terms of the right location, your first job shouldn't be to get a physical location. So many people make the mistake of getting a brick and mortar when they really don't need a brick and mortar. They need to learn how to sell in the online world of real estate, because there's a whole lot of real estate in the digital world that you can be occupying, and a lot of it is for free. But you just have to educate yourself. You got to develop a better ability to know how to operate in a digital world, in a digital landscape with digital real estate. And I'm not saying every business is going to be able to operate in a digital world, but whatever your business is, it should be connected to a digital world. Because if you're just depending on people walking by finding you, or people just happening to run across you one day in the mall or something, your business is not going to move as fast as it can move when you connect it to the digital space. So for those of you that have businesses or ministries that require some level of physical space, I would say you should start with working the online space. That means social media. You should have a space that you're occupying on all social media platforms. Then the next space that I would be looking at would be like shared space. That means if you just need to have a office address or business address or commercial address, you could pay a couple $100s a month and have a shared space where you could come in Monday through Friday some days and use it through the business days and hours, and you leave. Or if you are a church or some type of organization that needs to meet up, you could just rent a facility once a week or once a month or whenever you get together, so you don't have all this overhead and all this physical inventory that you're stuck with, and you're not able to even move it because you're depending on physical locations as opposed to digital locations. And then at some point you focus on a brick and mortar. But when you focus on a brick and mortar, at that point it should be an investment decision.
Just a comment, Lord Brown, he said there's no quick way to operate a business. As I continue to go over my blueprint game plan, I see that I've been wanting a quick solution to a strategy that's a long game.
That's good. That's good.
what he said.
That's a great comment. Thank you, Floyd, for that comment, because it is a long game. It's a very strategic marathon that you're on when you are in business, when you are in ministry, when you are running an organization, and it's a continual learning, growing process that you have to stay in the ecosystem of this type of information so you can continue to move forward. So the structure phase requires you to choose the right name, choose the right entity, and choose the right location. The third phase of creating a holding company, here we are right here, third phase. This is the startup phase. Now this is the phase that you do your due diligence with some of the easy parts. It's real easy to do this, but the problem is everybody got an EIN. And I ain't trying to throw no shade. I'm just saying everybody got EINs. Everybody got 501c3s. Everybody got ministries. Everybody got business cards. Everybody got websites. Everybody got logos. Everybody got their favorite colors. Everybody done ordered sample products. But the problem is you have great ideas on paper because you don't have a legitimate business. You know why? Because you don't have a strategic process to build a correct business. And that process should look like what we just talked about. A setup phase, company legacy, company philosophy. Structure phase, making sure you got the right name, the right entity, structured the right way, and the right location, which means you got a place that you can put your business or your products and services. And then we have the startup phase. So what is the startup phase made up of? Well, let me give it to you real simple. The startup phase is going to begin with you typically doing a name reservation. So that means you're going to go to your state's Secretary of State. Now, all of this that I'm talking about, y'all, some of y'all already know this, but let me just give some of y'all game who don't know it, and you're watching me and you're like, man, he's saying a lot, but I ain't going to be able to remember all this. Well, you actually can remember all this if you pick up one of our blueprint game plans. Okay, I want to show y'all real quick while I get to the startup phase. I'm going to, can y'all see this behind me? Let me move to the side. Well, I'll move this way a little bit, I guess. How many of y'all enjoying what I'm talking about so far? If you can see the screen behind me, I'm going to RamonePrestonUniversity.com. RamonePrestonUniversity.com. And I'm going to click on the blueprint game plans. We have 6 blueprint game plans. This is our signature blueprint game plan. It is our ultimate all-in-one blueprint game plan. But if you go there, you'll see all the courses that we have in our blueprint game plan. We have 2 specific courses right here. One is the Entrepreneur's Guide to Business. If you clicked on this one, you can actually see the modules. Everything that I'm talking about here, how to set up a business, how to form a company legacy and a company philosophy, establishing a credibility kit, how to structure your business. We talk about the 5 components to a business, how to evaluate your business, how to create a business plan. But also, if you go back out and click on starting and structuring a holding company, I show you how to start and structure your holding company. We talk about understanding a holding company, how to leverage a holding company. We talk about the power of a holding company, things that you need to know about holding companies, and we also have what I call a do-it-yourself business startup kit. So this business startup kit basically walks you through this 3rd phase of creating a holding company. And I have the policies, the articles, the procedures, the transmittal forms. I have articles of organization already built into this. I have an operating agreement for single member LLCs, multi-member LLCs. We have links to your DUNS number for your corporate seal kit. You have your SS4 form instructions. I have video tutorials to basically walk you through this process. So I show you in this particular program here, just this one program in our blueprint game plan, I literally walk you through the process of what I'm showing you is your startup phase. So what is the first thing you're gonna do? The first thing you're gonna do is either go to your Secretary of State and do a name reservation. So that means whatever the name of your business is, Ramone Preston Enterprises, you're gonna go to your state's Secretary of State, the Corporations Division, find start up a business or LLC, and you're gonna click reserve a name, or I can show you a hack. Instead of you spending that $30, you could go to business search and put the name of your business in the search. And if you put your name, the name of your business in the search and it doesn't come up, that's basically telling you that that name is not in the Secretary of State system. Now, if the name comes up, then you just modify the name until you find a name that's not in the system, and that lets you know that that name you're gonna file your LLC information with is available, okay? So once you do the name reservation, or if you just hack the way I tell you and do a business search and realize that the name that you want to file your LLC paperwork with is available, what you're gonna do next is, you're not gonna file your LLC paperwork. I would go to irs.gov and get your EIN number under that name that you know is available. I would get my EIN number first, because you don't wanna file paperwork and then you try to get an EIN and you can't get an EIN. You know what I mean? So I would say you go get your EIN number under the name that you reserved or under the name that you put in and you know it's available. Now you file the paperwork for your EIN. If you don't know how to do it yourself, I have information to show you. I have a tutorial to walk you through how to get your EIN number for your LLC, okay? So once you get your EIN number, then you're gonna go back to the Secretary of State of your state and you're gonna file your LLC paperwork. I have all this in our holding company startup kit. I have video tutorials that walk you through step by step how to file your own LLC. That's why I said you don't need funding to file an LLC. You just need the information and the education on how to file it and how to run it. Because even when you file it, you don't know how to run it. You just gonna have an LLC and EIN number and you ain't gonna be doing nothing with it. So you get your EIN number, then you go back to the Secretary of State, you file your LLC paperwork. Now, if this is your holding company, depending on what state you're in, you're gonna be able to categorize it or code it as a holding company. That's what's going to make it legally a holding company. It's no different than when you categorize your LLC for agriculture. You categorize your LLC for painting. You categorize your LLC for real estate. You're gonna categorize it as a holding company. Some states don't give you that option, so even though you might not be able to categorize it as a holding company, if you're in one of those states, it may give you an optional provision like a little clause where you can put a paragraph, and you're just going to type in that paragraph. This LLC is being started for the purpose of operating as a holding company, period. And you keep it moving, you file it, you get your articles of organization, you take your articles of organization and your EIN to a local bank, open up you a business bank account, and guess what? Ta-da! You own and poppin', bruh. You own and poppin', boo. And all that was for free. So I'm ending right there. That discussion was on the 3 phases of creating a holding company. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those questions in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions I can. If you are, I'm getting questions, somebody just text me. If you are not on our Blueprint Game Plan program, I want you to consider joining our Blueprint Game Plan program. Right here on our university platform, as you see, we have a Blueprint Game Plan program. And this is our 5-step wealth building system that we use to teach you the most important aspects of financial literacy, entrepreneurship, business ownership, ministry leadership, investments, and family legacy wealth building. And we use these 5 steps as a guide so that you can learn all of these important aspects to get to your financial next level and to get your business or your ministry or your enterprise or organization to the next level. If you would like to purchase one of our Blueprint Game Plans, you could do one or 2 things. You could go to RamonePreston.com right now. Type RamonePreston.com, and all of the information that I'm talking about, you can find it. You can scroll around, browse around, and see everything that we have available. Or if you want us to assist you in making sure that you purchase the blueprint that best fits your personal, financial, business, or ministry criteria, then all you have to do is text blueprint, right? Text blueprint to 404-478-7213. Text blueprint to 404-478-7213. When you text blueprint to 404-478-7213, we're going to reach back out to you. We're going to do a quick assessment of your personal, financial, business, or ministry situation, and we will give you the direction on which blueprint best fits your criteria. If you already have a blueprint, or if you know you need something beyond just a blueprint game plan, which is an online version of the resources that we provide, then guess what? I have an exclusive coaching program that I am preparing to introduce. Right now, I'm only sharing it on these shows every day, Monday through Friday, when I'm here, and I'm communicating with people who have already purchased blueprints or clients that we currently have who might not have our coaching available in their program. So for those of you that would like to be a part of our coaching program, I'm actually putting together a coaching program that's going to literally take you out. It's going to take you out to a year. It's going to be a 1-year coaching program. And I'm basically taking the 90-day program that I have available right now, and I'm giving that away for a year. So I'm basically giving 4 90-day programs away for the price of 1, because I want to bring some people to 6 figures within the next calendar year. And I'm already committed, my team, my squad, we've already committed ourselves to help as many people as we can get to 6 figures. So if you want to be a part of this exclusive coaching program, guess what you need to do? You need to text the word coaching to 404-478-7213. It's only for a limited time, and it's only for an exclusive group of people. If you go to my website right now, RamonePreston.com, if you go to RamonePrestonUniversity.com, you'll see that we have 1 coaching program. It's a 90-day coaching program that we have available. I am creating an exclusive, well, I've already created it. It's an exclusive coaching program for business of course, it's for individuals or ministry leaders, but it's really to help you scale your business and to help scale your ministry and to help structure it and do whatever you need to do so that you can really win financially and professionally. So if you want to be a part of that coaching program, please feel free to text coaching to 404-478-7213. And while you're on RamonePreston.com, you can see everything else that we are doing. We have a Next Level Network that we recently launched. This Next Level Network is for churches, ministries, and entrepreneurs. So if you're a church or pastor of church, if you are a ministry leader or executive, if you're a business owner or CEO, and you don't have a pastor, or maybe you have a pastor, but you want your church, your ministry, and or your business to be a part of a network, then we have created the Next Level Network to provide spiritual covering, accountability, and to be an incubator for prophetic next level churches, ministries, and entrepreneurs who are moving into a 2025, 2030, a 2050 type of world. And I'm helping people create the infrastructures in their lives, financially, in their businesses, and in their ministries so that they can literally be in 2050 in 2021. So I love y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed yourselves today. I hope you learned something today. And y'all know we'll be back tomorrow, 12 o'clock. Don't meet me here, beat me here. Please tag family members and friends. Let them know every day, 12 o'clock noon. Prophet Ramone and the squad and the Ramone Preston Show is live in his aisles right here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. I love y'all. Remember, 404-478-7213. Text Blueprint if you need a blueprint. Text Coaching if you need coaching, or go to Ramone